welcome back to Donington Park after an intense BikeSocial Sprint Race and a return to the podium for Tactics Lloyd and Jones PR. Luke Mossey. Luke, it's been a long time coming to get back on the podium. Those conditions were so crucial to make the right tyre choice. Talk us through it, and who came to the decision? Was it between you? Was it between your crew chief? And you managed to get Kennedy just on the last lap. Talk us through that, because that was a last run out of Goddard's as well.
Yes, it's been 6 years. Larry asked me in the park Fermi, how long's it been? I said 6 years since my last Superbike podium. So absolutely made up for the Tactics Lloyd and Jones team. You know, it's been a tough year. You know, we're run not the best well-funded team, and you know, to get to reward the guys with a podium is just it's great for end of season. You know, yeah, it was tricky conditions. You know, it's a bit more of a leveler when the conditions are like that. You know, we definitely made the right call on the wet tyres, and yeah, it was between me and the crew. You know, we're sort of juggling which direction to go with, and finally came to the decision of going on the wets, and obviously it's paid off. So just absolutely made up, and big thanks to the team.
And how many times did you think of making a move on Kennedy on that last lap?
There was no way that I was going to not try. I saw him in front of me, and he had a moment coming onto the back straight. So I overtook him, and I knew that he was going to brake late at me going into chicane. And through that whole race, I was sort of weighing up where I could overtake him, and I knew that I was stronger going into the last two corners. So I had a guy on the Melbourne loop and went a little bit deep, and he got back underneath me, and then it was a bit of a block pass going into the last turn, but we pulled it off. So yeah, just absolutely made up to get my first podium since 2017. It's been a long time coming.
Congratulations, Luke.
Thanks a lot, mate.
And back on the podium for the Rocket BMW Motorrad team, Leon Haslam. Leon, it's fair to say, out of all the tyre choices of the podium contenders, yours was the most dramatic, as it were. Talk us through it, because obviously there was that moment on the grid when everyone had to make a decision, but you were just telling us then it was right down to the very last second, wasn't it?
It was a very late decision, and you know, at the time when we did the change, I probably would have gone full inters, but then I knew the rain was coming. We didn't have time to change the front, and all my opposition was on inters front and rear, so we kept the inter-rear. As soon as we started the race, I knew I'd basically made a mistake, should I say. I think 8 people come past me all on wets and then just disappeared, but luckily it dried up a little, not dried up, but it was less hard rain in the middle of the race. I got a little bit of temperature in it. Obviously managed to catch them back up. Thought, oh yeah, we're looking good now, and then it started to rain again. So it was a bit of a yo-yo race for me, but to get a podium, obviously the main opposition, you know, I think Carl scored 1 point and the others didn't, so made a big step in the championship, and to finish the race on an inter-rear, I'm well happy.
How difficult was that to manage during the race? Because you obviously said about how the conditions changed during it. Did you feel like there were any times where you were going to drop back dramatically? Yeah,
at the start of the race, I thought I'd made a big mistake, and then once I found my feet, I thought, oh yeah, I've landed on my feet, and then all of a sudden it started to rain again, and I knew we wasn't going to catch Ryan because he made too much of a gap at straight away. Basically, he was on it. But you know, the other guys, I think there was 5-6 seconds ahead, and I caught it back within 2 laps. I thought, okay, that's good, we'll stay here, and then all of a sudden it started to rain again, and I think then Kennedy come past me again on the wet. So it was a fun race. I was really happy with the bike, especially on the braking phase, so I think that helped me a lot.
And with Kyle finishing in 12th, that moves you now into 3rd by 1 point ahead of him. How much are you looking forward to tomorrow? Yeah,
you know, we know the Yamaha, and Kyle, you know, was super strong here in the dry, so, you know, it's the first wet race we've had all year. It'd be nice to have another wet one because I felt pretty strong, and obviously try and choose the right tyre this time.
Thank you, Leon. And back on the top step of the podium again for Lamy OMG Racing Yamaha, it's Ryan Vickers. Ryan, that was a dominating race from you, up to 5 seconds at 1 point your lead. It came down a little bit at the end, but the tyre choice proved so crucial for you. I heard during your TV interview you were saying on the grid there were a couple of times where you couldn't really make your mind up. How happy are you on that performance, and talk us through how that choice came about?
Yeah, so it's, credit to the team, you know, that's where it's at. I mean, we went out on our sighting laps on full wets on the harder rear, and at the time I think it was still spitting with rain coming out of Coppice, and I know what it's like when you're on a dry tyre or a drier tyre. When you see rain, you honestly don't know how much to commit to the next corner. So I knew it wasn't going to be easy on a drier tyre like an Inter, like most of the people went with. So I got back to the grid and we just waited. Carl did an extra lap, so he was on full Inters, and he come back, and you know, he stayed with Inters, but I was sort of like, I said to the guys, like, you know, he still had like, you know, an inch worth of chicken strips on the side of the tyre. So he hasn't even got over towards his knee, you know, and that's what I was thinking is like, I don't think there's as much grip out there as they think. And I couldn't make my decision. It weren't raining at the time. The track was drying in front of us, you know. And I said to Dave, my crew chief, I was like, look, you make the decision. Go with what you think. And he went, Inter. So the boys stuck the Inter in. Inter tyres, Inter rear was into the bike. Everything was all good. And it just started very slightly spitting with rain. And I just said to him, I said, look, give me a hard wet on the rear. And I know I can go out with confidence then. It's a 10-lap race. I said, Kyle had just done 3 laps on an Inter and still wasn't at the edge of the tyre. So if it's spitting with rain, it's going to take him more than 3 laps to get confidence. So I said, if I can do 5 laps and get a bit of a gap, I'll be surprised if I can catch the gap back, you know. And luckily, we made the right decision. I thought middle of the race, I was thinking, it's starting to dry a little bit here. I've got to be careful. And the wet was spinning. It wasn't great with grip. But yeah, we made the right decision. I got into the front. It was nice as we pulled off the grid. Everyone in front of me was either on full inters or Leon was with the wet front inter rear. So I thought he's going to be strong on the brakes, but he's going to be hesitant turning in. So I made sure I was on the inside of everyone. Outbraked him, tipped in with a good amount of confidence and did a safe first lap. And actually it was quite nice here at Donington. You got the Melbourne loop so you can see the gap behind you and stuff like that. So I could see it was opening before the lap had finished, and then just monitoring on the pit board really. It went back down to 4.4, went back up to 5, and I was just playing with it, riding as safe as I could, and yeah, brought home the win. So happy. Team did an amazing job, no mistakes, and that's the hard thing. You know, Leon ran out of time to change to the wet, like he said he wanted to, but you know, I must have made the right choice, and we made it at the right time. I think with another 5-10 seconds later, and we might not have got it changed. So credit to the team, did an amazing job. Bike was faultless, and yeah, so happy to give them the win.
Were you surprised when you saw the gap behind you? Did you expect to maybe see some other people who had taken a similar gamble to you and that would have been closer to you?
Well, I kind of judged it off of the warm-up lap, to be honest. I didn't push at all on the warm-up lap other than, you know, just trying to get to the edges of the tyre, scrub the tyre in. And I look back at McLean's, because you can kind of judge it. If people are riding with confidence, you've normally, like in the dry, you don't get gaps on the warm-up lap because everyone's riding together. So I came out on McLean's, and the only person I could even see was Lee Jackson. So I knew everybody else was struggling, because if they wasn't, what they would have wanted to be doing is getting heat in the tyres. So they're obviously riding really cautiously. So I kind of knew that was the goals from then. That sort of put it in my mind that that's what I needed to do. I need to get out front. I need to just ride my race. Don't push hard, because as fast as I was going on the warm-up lap was enough, you know. So that's how I managed it, really. I learned a little bit on the warm-up lap, and that put me a little bit of peace of mind, you know. I could ride relaxed and make minimal mistakes. It's hard to make none, but yeah, we made the bike throughout the race better, a little bit of an engine brake change, and it made it a little bit easier to ride.
Congratulations, Ryan.
Thank you, cheers.